selection situation, the wholesale changes versus blooding new players, etc. And there's obviously been a lot of criticism of Jacques Nienaber. Do you think it's justified? What are your thoughts on what happened and obviously now knowing the result?
Yeah, I don't think the result was too important, and people berate me for saying that. But the the result of the match, or the result of all the changes, or the idea behind all the changes, was to blood players and test players and see where they are and if they up for test rugby. And I liken it to the Washington DC game that we played against Wales, where we gave out 13 test caps, and yeah, haven't seen some of those players in a Springbok jersey again. A la Robert Dupree, Jason Jenkins might have got another test cap, but he's been injured. But we haven't seen him again. I think Ivan van Sale got a test cap then. I don't think we've seen him since that match. But also getting their test cap during that game was Makazole Mapimpi, Oxen Chair, Kwagga Smith, Peter Steph du Toit captained the team that day. So I think this match is a game that we'll be able to look back to in, I don't know, 6 months' time, 12 months down the line, even 18 months down the line, and we can say, yes, it was cuck to lose to Wales for the first time in South Africa, but we really got to know a lot about players from that match and if they could make the step up. And Wales is a very good team for South Africa to do that against. And I said that last week before the test as well. They nitty gritty, they fronts up against the Springboks, and they give you a real difficult challenge.
Yeah, you've got to fight, and you've got to fight hard. And I tell you, I was listening to a podcast today, the Master of None podcast, which it's a group of Irish guys. Got a great podcast. You need to have a listen if you get a gap. But their podcast, bearing in mind Ireland beat New Zealand, and they spoke so much of, on their day they've got 15 players that can do it, and they just spoke about the depth, having the squad to do it on a regular basis, making those 15 players that can beat Ireland on their day a larger group of 20, 30, maybe 40 players that can rotate in and around, be involved, that can come in and when it's horses for courses and make the beating the All Blacks, or, I mean, they didn't say this, but I'm going to say like beating France or beating Springboks more regular. And all the major thing is that Ireland are struggling with continuity, or should I say succession planning, and squad depth and players that they can call on in a time of need. So the biggest one and the easiest one to use for non-Irish fans or players or watchers of the Irish game is Johnny Sexton. Now, I listened to that today, and I felt so good about what had happened this week and why it had happened. And seeing your tweets on South Africa, the Springboks versus Wales in DC, and all those numbers that you're putting out about the players that made their debut, are they still involved? This is what they've won since. And we are getting to a point. Well, for me, this squad that played on Saturday, most of them are there and thereabouts in the World Cup squad. So a lot of them are not even dead certain to go to the World Cup. But what they're doing is they're there and they're in the mix. They've spent the whole time in the squad. There's a very, very good chance that they'll travel in November. And then come the World Cup next year, if there's an emergency, you bring someone in. He's not starstruck by being with the Springboks for the first time ever. He's not starstruck by playing overseas for the first time ever. And he's not starstruck by being in a World Cup. Well, maybe, I mean, a few of them will. But you understand where I'm getting with this. It'll all be the same stuff and the same way around. But what we've done, and the way I look at it this weekend, is essentially Jacques Nienaber has said, awesome, we're going to do this. Some of these guys will be available for the World Cup and will be putting their hand up, put pressure on other guys. But after the World Cup, I reckon we are starting to get a core of players already ready now that can start integrating in. And then we'll have a new core with some of the old, some of the new, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're in a good spot.